The Smart Switch 456. The switch to a new concept of driving enjoyment. The new Rambler, the car you should be driving if you want the things most drivers want. And what are these things? They're the things that make driving comfortable and safe and economical. And yes, actually a pleasure. For if you've forgotten, driving can be fun. And if you appreciate good things generally, your 56 Rambler will soon become a proud part of your life because it has all those elements that label you as a person of taste. Elements like style that is new and not just a facelift, functional styling that makes this four-door sedan look long and low and sleek with a character all its own. This individuality is highlighted by the fashion safety arch, a bold departure from traditional styling that gives an indication of the protection of fortress steel surrounding passengers when they ride in the only low-priced car with Nash pioneered double-safe single-unit car construction. A completely welded one-piece marriage of body and frame units to form the strongest, the safest, the most rattle-free of all types of construction. In addition, this construction permits the fashion safety arch to be positioned far back so rear seat passengers can see better than ever before. As a matter of fact, visibility is one of the things you'll appreciate most in your new Rambler. The back window is curved without struts and larger than many windshields. And the windshield gives you a whopping 1,105 square inches of glass, more than you'll find in many of the much larger cars. From the Rambler's driver's seat, you can see all four fenders. And speaking of fenders, notice how they're gently tapered outward, reverse angles to help give your Rambler that long, sleek look. But with its 108-inch wheelbase, it can be turned in a 38-foot diameter, far shorter than many in its price class. That makes the Rambler easy to park in tight places. But now, notice the front end of your new Rambler, the massive cast grille which contains and protects the headlights, and the clean line of the high road guide fenders. Then, as your eye sweeps back and up, you notice the decorative fresh air intake for the Weather-Eye heater, mounted high above exhaust level, so the air that goes inside is fresh air, designed for passenger comfort. But passenger comfort is really a subject for the ladies.
When you first open the door of your new Rambler, you'll feel as I did, that this is exactly the way you would have designed the appointments. Everything in perfect taste, and of course everything matching. They call it color keying, making sure that everything on the outside and the inside harmonize. Notice how the instrument panel is set off by surrounding color that matches the outside of the car? Why, even the steering wheel is tied in with this color keying. And that steering wheel, incidentally, is cupped, the hub recessed for added safety in case of an accident. But what I like most about my Rambler is the upholstery. It's beautiful, with this combination of durable, easy-to-clean cloth and the harmonizing bolster. Of course, this isn't the only combination. There are many options to choose from. Nylon Bedford cord, jacquard and new nylon wheat spray fabrics, and both leather and vinyl bolsters. But these seats are more than just nice to look at. They're nice to sit on, too, because in our Rambler, the seats are cushioned with foam rubber. And here's a feature you won't want to be without once you've tried it. Seats that recline for taking naps or just relaxing while someone else drives. They can even be made up into twin travel beds. When they designed this car, they certainly gave a lot of thought to comfort. When I'm driving, for instance, the very fact that the pedals are suspended makes it easier for me to work the brakes. And since we bought the custom sedan, power brakes are standard equipment. You know, it's funny. I didn't think a smaller car would do for us because we have a family. But actually, we found that the Rambler is smaller only where it counts, on the outside. On the inside, the seats are big and roomy, and there's plenty of leg room and headroom, too. More actually than some of the bigger cars. I know what they mean when they say king size on the inside, Rambler size on the outside. You will too when you have your first ride in a Rambler.
Yes, there's lots that's bigger and better on the new Rambler. Lots more than you can see. But you can certainly feel it as soon as you press the accelerator. Yes, it's a new engine. The Typhoon overhead valve engine, designed to give you two benefits that generally can't be obtained in one automobile: snappy performance and outstanding economy. The kind of economy that has already made the Rambler known as the most economical to drive. Here's how it's done. First, performance. The new Typhoon engine has 120 horsepower, an increase of a third over last year's Rambler, which was itself a pretty peppy car. As for economy, the use of the new overhead valve design, coupled with free-breathing downdraft carburation and wedge-shaped combustion chambers, will give you outstanding mileage, just as previous Rambler owners have experienced. But performance and economy are not the only things you should consider, not if you have a family. Besides the power to go, you need power to stop. Good brakes. Brakes with over 47% more brake area than before. And remember, power brakes are available for all models and are standard on the Custom. Now, you may have already heard about the famous deep coil ride that's possible only with this type of body construction. It's a ride that uses long, high-mounted coil springs. Springs positioned slightly outward for stability and comfort on curves, just as a sailor spreads his legs to take the roll of a ship. And this year, rear wheels as well as front have deep coil springing. This is only possible on cars with torque tube drive, not available on any of the other lower-priced cars. As a consequence, your 1956 Rambler will give you a better, softer, more comfortable ride than it's possible to get in many of the larger cars. And speaking of comfort, don't forget Weather Eye Heating, the fresh air heating system developed by Nash that's so efficient you'll probably never use the fan except for defrosting. And when the weather outside is hot, you'll be cool with all-season air conditioning, a system that, with the heater, costs less than half the price of some air conditioners alone. Yes, the Rambler offers everything and then some that any other car anywhere near its price class offers. It's the perfect family car with a specific model to fit your needs. This four-door sedan, for instance, is offered in 3 different price ranges: the budget price deluxe, the sporty-looking super, and the luxurious custom. But no matter which model you select, remember the high trade-in value they carry. According to NADA records, the Rambler has the lowest dollar depreciation of any car in its price range. But now, the stage is set and the spotlight is on another brand new Rambler, one destined to make a big name for itself, one that should be perhaps your Rambler. The Rambler four-door hardtop, the most sophisticated, the most youthful, the most graceful example of hardtop styling you'll find in any price range. No matter where you go, you'll have the feeling that yours is a car that belongs, that you're in the right company with your Rambler. But this is no car just to look at, it's a car to enjoy. No other car made can match the out-in-the-open feeling you'll get from your Rambler hardtop, because only the Rambler can offer both the unobstructed sweep of the open side and the biggest windshield in its price range. Yes, you'll enjoy your Rambler hardtop, and for a long time, too, because only the Rambler hardtop has the kind of body that keeps doors closing properly without a center support, that keeps rattles from developing because of the twisting common in bodies with separate frames. And when you open these doors, Your guests will be overwhelmed at the luxury and taste of the appointments in this most compact of all hardtops. Appointments that can't even be found in other hardtops, such as deep foam rubber cushioned seats that recline or even make into beds for enjoyment of long trips. And this is a car for long trips, a car for the open road. But always, open road or city, long trip or short, when you finally arrive at your destination and get out fresh and relaxed, you know you're arriving in a car with a personality, a car that reflects your own good taste and judgment. But there is still another Rambler, specifically designed to fit the needs of our ever-growing suburban kind of living. It's a car with a multitude of features and a multitude of uses. It's the 1956 Rambler Cross Country, a station wagon with the most individual style of them all and with features offered by no other, regardless of price.
John has always wanted a station wagon, but I always thought they were too big and too expensive until I saw and drove this cross country. It's so pretty, isn't it? But more than that, this is a practical car for anyone with an active family like mine. You see, we can only afford one car, and, well, that one has to serve a lot of different purposes. Why, they've thought of everything. Like this travel rack on top for carrying extra luggage or bulky items. The straps are real leather, and chrome strips prevent paint scratches. I put things I want to keep away from the children up here. Then, I put the children in here, in the back. It's sort of a traveling playpen, so the children don't bother me when I'm driving. They love traveling back here, and they're always perfectly safe, because I can roll this window up as far as I want. There's no awkward swing-up top section to bother with. And to make doubly sure, I can lock both the window and the tailgate from this outside control. If your children are as peppy as mine, you'll love your new cross country, too.
Mary likes the cross country because it keeps our wild Indians out of her hair and is small enough for her to handle easily. But I like it for a different reason. Space. It carries a lot. 80 cubic feet when the rear seat is down. You can carry long things like building material easily because the cargo space is over 6 feet long. And look here. Because the opening is over 4 feet wide and the tailgate is low, the cross country is easy to load. I'm sure glad they came out with this car. You know, Mary and the kids all agree with me. It's the best car we've ever owned.
The best car we've ever owned. That's the phrase on the lips of all Rambler owners, of sedans, hardtops, or cross-country station wagons. Because all these owners now enjoy Rambler features that can't be matched by any other car in its price class. Many of these people, possibly like yourself, didn't realize what they were missing until they were given a demonstration ride by their Nash salesman. This ride gives new meaning to the phrase, make the smart switch for 56. The switch to a new concept of driving enjoyment. And driving a new car yourself, of course, is the only test. So, won't you take the keys of a new Rambler, make the test, and prove it for yourself?
Calories, here comes Sam Tyson with a few more. Honestly, boss, I don't know what's got into you, given your sales force this spread, but I sure approve. Did your mother-in-law go home for a while?
No such luck, Sam, no such luck. You're right, though, handing out steak dinners to salesmen isn't too much like me. But I had a reason.
A reason, Mr. Norquist? What was it? I'm pretty green to this business. Haven't sold too many cars yet. I don't see why I deserve a steak dinner.
Never mind the reason now, Jim. Just eat your steak like a veteran, like your starving friend Tyson there, and then we'll talk. Now, gentlemen, while you're smoking my cigars, I'll tell you why you're here. In the first place, I've been so busy lately on quotas and P&L statements that I haven't gotten around to telling you boys one important thing. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't even have a P&L statement, because it takes sales to make a profit. And all of you, including you, Jim, even though you are pretty green to this business, have been producing sales for me, and I'm grateful. But, Jim, if you're going to become a hotshot salesman like Sam and Bob, maybe you'd better give up cigars. Even green salesmen shouldn't look as green in the face as you do. But looking back over our 55 year, we've done well, sold a lot of cars, particularly Ramblers. On the Statesman and Ambassadors, we've sold too, but not as strongly. Now, I know the Rambler's been hotter than a firecracker, and this year it'll be hotter than ever. But that's certainly no excuse for concentrating on the Rambler to the exclusion of the larger cars. And that's my other reason for having this dinner with you men. Here, away from the dealership, we'll have no interruptions. As you know, this year the factory is relating their Ambassador and Statesman advertising to a sales pitch that really means something. The world's finest travel car. Let's see how we can tie in with this advertising to bring our Statesman and Ambassador sales up higher. You should be vitally interested in this because your commissions are so much higher on the larger cars. And don't forget this. More people want to spend more money on higher-priced cars.
Wait a minute. Higher-priced cars? That isn't my experience. They all want to chisel me down and get something dirt cheap.
They all want to beat you on a deal, Bob. That's human nature. But they have got the money, and they are willing to spend it. Figures don't lie. Just listen. In the past, about 60% of cars sold were in the under $2,000 bracket. That's basic factory price. The rest, 40%, were higher. But this year, we find a ratio of about 56 to 44, which certainly indicates a trend toward higher-priced cars. And remember, many of the cars in the 2,000 bracket actually cost much, much more, as high as $3,000 for fully equipped cars in top-of-the-line series. Yes, in delivered price, most car sales are actually in the mid-2,000 bracket or higher, and we cover that entire bracket. We, the people who sell Nash, are the only salesmen with coverage, the right car to suit the particular needs and price requirements of each prospect within this bracket. Now, just look. In the Statesman, you have a big car at a medium price, a really big car. Not only is it big, but it offers all those important features that only Nash owners can have. Features that make Nash stand out above other cars in the same price range. Then, there's the Ambassador 6, a car with a reputation of owner satisfaction that can't be beat by any other car made in my book. Here we have a big, comfortable car that offers the kind of mileage that owners of other cars of equal size can't even hope for. Then, for the top of your line, you've got the Ambassador V8. This year, it's more powerful than ever, a real luxury car, offering everything any driver could ever want.
Yeah, including a real price. That V8's pretty expensive, boss. That's the only trouble with it.
Of course it is, Sam. You won't sell it to every guy you meet. It's designed for people with luxury tastes, people who look at cars the way you do food. But that's my point. I don't want any of you to waste your time trying to push prospects into the wrong car. In the first place, it won't work. You won't sell. And in the second place, you don't have to. You have a car for every prospect. You can fit the prospect to the car every time. So let's go down the cars and decide who our prospects are. First, the Statesman. Last year, you griped a bit about the car. You said you could sell it if it had a little more power, more like the Ambassador 6. So this year, they gave it to you, 130 horsepower, the horsepower of last year's Ambassador 6. I don't see what can keep you down on this car now.
Yeah, but this year everyone else has got lots more horsepower. We're still behind the others.
Behind them? In horsepower, yes, because we're not in the horsepower race with the Statesman. But we can offer economy and lots of other features they can't. Bryson, you surprise me. Here's Jim Shannon, new to this selling game. Green, so green he's accounted for all but one of my Statesman sales this month. And not relatives either. Jim, suppose you tell these star salesman veterans of mine just how you sold those Statesman cars. Say that last one.
Well, gee, Mr. Norquist, I don't really know. You see, those people were just like me. Kind of young, not making too much money, with 2 kids and one on the way that I could see. So I figured they were more interested in the real benefits a Statesman offered than all this horsepower stuff. So I showed them. I showed them first how they could expect some mighty big annual savings out of Statesman mileage. Mileage they weren't getting with the Dodge they were driving. Then, since they were obviously all wrapped up in their family, I really tore into a safety story. Gave them the whole works. I got that hood up and showed them how the structural members of the body went all the way forward, how they'd prevent the engine getting pushed back in the event of collision. Then, I explained to the wife how our kids would be protected by our frame members at the outside. Oh, I gave them the whole works about the safety of our body.
Nice going, Jim. Nice going. In other words, you qualified these people as being interested in safety and just went at it from there.
Qualified? No, I don't think so. I don't quite know what this qualify means. It's just that I heard the husband talking to the wife about a deal he could get from Ford. So I could see my commission going out the window unless I answered some of Ford's arguments about safety and engine. And obviously, the wife spent the money in that family and she loved her kids, so I let her sell the old man. I guess they qualified themselves.
Good boy, Jim. Actually, prospects will often qualify themselves by something they say, so you can steer them to the right car. But in the case of the Statesman, there are other signs, the kind of driving a person does, the kind of work he's in, things like that. Because of economy, people like salesmen who put a lot of miles on cars are interested. They can save money on the expense account. Besides, since the Statesman is so big, there's lots of room for samples, and if they're on the road a lot, they like the comfort over, say, a low-price 3 car. And by the way, low-price 3 owners are ripe for the Statesman. The step up in price isn't great, and a demonstration ride will prove to them what they've been missing. Another group is your previous Statesman owners. They already like the car, and when you tell them about the increased power, but still Statesman economy, you've got it made. But now let's talk about the Ambassador 6. Sam, you seem to get more than your share of sales out of this car. How do you get your sales? Feed 'em steaks?
No, sir. I found that certain people are most apt to be Ambassador 6 prospects, and they're the ones I go after. I call them solid citizens. Actually, the car sells itself. I just get them in for a ride, sit back, and let my own meals digest. Other prospects, of course, are present Ambassador 6 owners. They really stick with that car. They're used to it. They like its economy, and they're crazy about that engine. But lately, I've been picking up sales from owners of some of the other makes in the same price range. They don't like the rattly bodies they're getting for their money and the poor mileage.
But, Sam, don't you think this horsepower race is weakening our position with the 6 lately? After all, you can get a lot more power for the same money.
Hasn't bothered me, Bob. I sell comfort, roominess, a better ride. Besides, you and I both know the car's got plenty of pep, and it's easy on gas. What's more, you don't have to have that engine serviced every 2 months.
Yeah, that's the trouble with the V8s. They certainly do need a mess of service, including our V8, boss. Don't you think so?
Bob, our V8 did need service when it first came out, as any new engine does. But check the service department lately. The bugs are all ironed out. That engine's a sweetheart. Its performance is tops.
The boss is right, Bob. The engine's all right. But every time I try to switch one of my old Ambassador 6 prospects to the V8, they balk at the dollar sign.
Of course they do, Sam, and you can't blame them. They're happy with what they've been driving, and you're trying to tell them they should make a change. You can't make many sales that way. Be careful of trying to switch a sure customer for one of your cars into a doubtful prospect for another. You're gambling one sure commission against a bigger, more doubtful one.
You say that, and yet you keep hounding us to get V8 sales. Honestly, boss, that car's not easy to sell. And if we do bring in a prospect for the V8, chances are the car he's now driving is a pretty good one. Say a $2,500 trade, nice and clean. Then you give us an appraisal that's way too low, and we've lost him.
I know it. That's my problem, and I've been wrong. But I'll change my ways if you'll change yours. I'll take all the big cars you bring in at fair appraisals if you men will quit trying to sell V8s to our old 6 customers and go out and get some brand new V8 prospects and give them brand new treatment. This V8 is really a new kind of car to our line. The hot prospects are new to us. They're not our regular prospects, and they need special treatment to get them into our camp. Just look. Our V8 is a quality car. Costs between $3,000 and $4,000. When a guy's going to spend that kind of money, he wants sort of a red carpet, and we'll give it to him. From the time we first meet him to the time he takes delivery and beyond, because we'll follow up on that, too, for names of his friends. These are pretty special prospects. They're probably already driving fairly expensive V8s. They demand high horsepower such as ours, and they know its benefits. What's more, our famous economy doesn't mean much to them. They haven't been getting it, and they don't particularly care about it. They're willing to pay for power. But the cars they've been driving don't offer the comfort, the safety, the travel features, and the kind of ride that we can give them with their power. And in addition to engine power, their cars have generally been equipped with all the power options and accessories. They like these accessories. That means they'll also like our reclining seats and our twin beds, things they don't have on their present cars. They've got money and they're willing to spend it. And how do we make sure they do? First, we give them the kid glove treatment. We learn their name and call them by it. Without hamming it up or making it corny, we'll have to be a little more gracious on the sales floor with them. Spend more time with them, talking features, not price. Then, and this can't be overemphasized, get the prospect on the road. On the way out, you drive, quietly bringing out features and letting the prospect get familiar with the car. While you're doing that, be sure you explain the drive choices and benefits of the twin Ultramatic transmission. Chances are they won't be familiar with this transmission. And finally, of course, let the prospect drive. Don't sell anything. Don't do anything except perhaps to suggest a route or an experiment for the driver. Let him enjoy the car. Now, if you get back to the dealership and still can't close, and yet the guy seems to be a pretty good prospect and a responsible sort of person, I'm going to let you arrange to let him keep the V8 overnight or for the weekend. That should sell anyone on our V8. And that's how important I think demonstrations are to selling this V8. In this car, you've got as much car to sell as anyone. And we know the people are there with the money. In fact, no matter how much or how little money they may have, you've got a car for them. Whether they want economy or performance, style or safety, no matter what they want, you men have got it for them, from the Rambler on up through the V8. No other salesmen have such coverage, right?
Right. That's right, Mr. Norquist.
You're right, boss.
Then let's get out and sell our exclusive, a complete line. Now, as far as I'm concerned, our meeting is over, unless you have some questions. Are there any? Yes, Sam?
A good meeting, boss. A good one. But it was also a long one. So I have just one question.
Fire away, Sam.
I'm hungry. When do we eat?
America is building for a bigger national economy. And as everyone knows, this takes money, lots of money, not sitting around idly in vaults, but constantly changing hands, constantly in circulation. And that's just what's happening. According to every survey, your customer is spending more than ever. Personal incomes are up, and everyone has more money to spend. And next to the actual houses they live in, the American public considers the cars they drive as the most important things to spend their money on. And they want to replace them every year or so, to always have a new one. But they also know that they could make the old bus do for a little while longer. If they spent a few bucks on repairs and swallowed the keeping up with the Joneses desire for something new, they could generally kid themselves for a while into thinking they really didn't want a new car. But the desires are there, just the same. The smart salesman knows that every person has his weak spot that makes him a prospect. The trick, of course, is to find out what it is, and then move in. Not firing hit or miss, but building the sale by relating everything to this desire, strengthening it so you reach the point where the prospect actually sells himself. Now, regardless of who the prospect may be, his desires will generally fit into a few major headings. Building blocks that'll get you closer to the sale. Right now, let's see what they are and see how we can interpret all of our Rambler features in terms of them, in terms of a prospect's desires. The first is a car with a personality, a car that's cute and fun to drive, with an identity that sets it apart from the others and makes it, therefore, most desirable to people who aren't satisfied with carbon copy cars. The elements of such personality are style, reputation, and prestige. And the Rambler offers more in these areas, an undisputed fact. The next block is performance and economy, both, as you know, mighty important to car buyers. The reason we have put them together as one block rather than two is that the average buyer thinks he can only have one or the other. But you have a story to give him to prove he can have both in one car, a mighty important building block. Now let's consider special features, those extras that either come with a car or are available as options. These are pretty important to today's luxury-minded buyer. And you, with your Rambler, can give him more. You can give him standard and more exclusive features, even some not available on other cars at any price. Certainly one of your best building blocks. Now let's move up to safety and comfort, the benefits every manufacturer is shouting about more than ever before. But more than ever before, your Rambler story is better than competitors because your story is based upon safety and comfort facts the rest of the industry is just waking up to. Now there's one more building block, value, that all prospects are naturally interested in. And this year, you're going to have some real news in that department, too. So, there they are, your big 7 building blocks to more sales in 57. The basic customer desires to which all your selling should be related. But now, let's look at our 57 Rambler carefully to see just how its features fit into these basic building block desires. The first is personality. And the long, low look of this personality is now accented by horizontal chrome treatment and horizontal paint treatment. From the front, you notice the big, massive parking and running lights, the headlights being a part of the grille itself, a wider, lower-appearing grille because of the new T-bar trim. And whether it's this stylish cross-country or the all-new cross-country hardtop, a car combining station wagon features with the out-in-the-open feeling of the hardtop, you know you're riding in cute, compact style. Style with personality. But speaking of hardtops, the Rambler 4-door hardtop is a hardtop that's different. Not only in its sleek, low-slung style, but in the very construction, which keeps it free from the rattles ordinary hardtops develop. Then, for Rambler personality at lowest cost, there's the stylish sedan, offering all the famous and exclusive Rambler features at a price with the lowest. And regardless of the particular model chosen, you'll find that Rambler interior appointments, the trim, and the color-keyed upholstery give an impression of compact luxury that simply can't be matched. And to give you plenty of price spread in these different models, the 57 Rambler is offered in 3 series, with a choice of 2 engines, giving you a total of 12 different cars to sell. But speaking of engines, let's talk about performance and economy, both mighty important to today's buyer. And you have news, real news for any buyer. For the performance-minded, for instance, there's your new V8, American Motors designed and American Motors built, as completely modern in design as the Rambler for which it was designed. Look, for instance, at the over-square design, a ratio of bore to stroke that minimizes the loss of horsepower due to frictional heat. And speaking of horsepower, you've got 190 to sell in this most modern of overhead valve V8s. An engine designed by a firm that's been making overhead valve engines for 39 years. And like all American Motors engines, the Rambler compression ratio of 8:1 allows the use of regular fuel, making any miles per gallon economy story even stronger. But speaking of economy, don't forget your famous Typhoon overhead valve Rambler 6. This year improved for quieter operation and smooth 125 horsepower performance. And when you talk about economy for this famous power plant, be sure you talk 32.09 economy, because that's the miles per gallon figure of the most astounding, most publicized, most saleable economy run of them all. The coast-to-coast Rambler economy run. A drive from Disneyland in Los Angeles to New York City, a distance of 2,961 miles, with only 5 stops for gasoline. Now, since this was a standard Rambler and not a tricked-up car, drivers had to be mighty careful to squeeze out all this mileage between stops. That's why the car was carefully leveled whenever it was gassed to make sure the tank was really full. This is a part of the NASCAR procedure for all such runs, and this run was carefully administered by that organization. After fueling, for instance, the tank was sealed by a NASCAR official, so no one could possibly tamper with the fuel level between stops. Nor was this a controlled condition run either. Driving was on regular highways at normal driving speeds, and with the normal slowdowns for traffic tie-ups and driving through towns. But careful driving gave these impressive results. Nearly 3,000 miles for a little over 92 gallons of regular gas. An overall cost of $26.17, or less than a penny a mile. Yes, the 32.09 miles per gallon story is a story you can and should tell with pride to every prospect, 6 or V8. And when you're talking V8, make sure you tell about the brand new flash-away hydromatic transmission. Take the prospect for a test drive so we can feel the smooth power without annoying jerks. And you'll have a new 6 transmission too. The entirely new Flash-O-Matic, to be introduced in January on the Rambler 6. It operates on the torque converter with gears principle, will give smoothness and extreme dependability. Now let's look at our next building block. Special features, the extras you can offer that your competitors can't match, the things that often push you over the hump and into your clothes. The first is our famous airliner reclining seats, a feature over 75% of the people who drive would want to own. Only you can offer it, coupled with another famous feature, twin travel beds, which make the Rambler the perfect car for the sportsman who wants to go anywhere for his fish and not worry about the availability of motels or cabins. And one of our most talked about features is all-season air conditioning, a system that warms in winter, cools in summer, and filters the air all year round, and at a price much lower than most systems without a heater. But when it comes to heaters, only you can offer Weather Eye, the first fresh air heater, the first heater to take air in at a high level, and still the only heater where you need hardly ever use the fan. Another Rambler extra is power steering. Now, it's true power steering is available on practically every other car, but only you can claim that the power steering equipped Rambler is most maneuverable. Why? Because only you can offer a combination of effortless power steering plus the short turning diameter of only 37.5 feet. Women drivers will appreciate this. They'll also want Rambler power brakes, a pennies-a-day option on all models. There are other Rambler features, such as the handy swing-down glove compartment and our squeeze-type door handles that you can't get on other cars for any price. But now, let's look at another important building block, safety. A big thing in the advertising copy of most of your competitors today. And their safety story is based only on little things, things which you've had available for years. But they don't have your big story, built-in safety. With an all-welded single-unit body, a solid one-piece structural unity that not only protects the passengers, but makes the car stay new longer.
While others ride on top of a frame, Rambler passengers are surrounded on all sides by strong structural steel framing members. And in addition, Rambler structural support does not stop at the firewall, but extends forward of the engine, offering protection from front-end collision. Want proof? Then consider the scientific tests that American Motors is constantly running with actual crashes of our own and competitive cars. Naturally, they don't use people in these cars, but they have some very intelligent dummies. Dummies with brains, consisting of deceleration and impact measuring mechanisms. When the dummies are in position, cars are crashed into this solid barrier at 25 miles an hour, a high enough speed to be deadly when a solid object is hit. The competitive car was shortened over 1.5 feet, enough to shove the engine backwards, and the force of the impact made the dummies' heads hit the windshield hard enough to break it. On our AMC car, however, damage was localized, front structural members having absorbed part of the crash force. What's more, all doors operated perfectly. These tests will constantly go on, using higher and higher speeds, car-to-car crashes, and crashes at sides, to constantly make our safety story even stronger. It's an honest safety story you can sell. You can also sell Rambler Comfort, another sales building block. Until they've actually been in our car and had a demonstration ride, many prospects might feel that it's small. But you can prove that we actually equal or exceed many of the other cars in the important comfort dimensions. But in addition to dimensions, consider the comfort of the ride itself, the way the car takes the bumps and goes around the corners. Now, it's true most manufacturers have recognized the advantages of coil springs and use them. But Rambler coil springs are longer and softer for a smoother ride. You can only do this with our type of body design. Not only are they longer, but they're tilted outward to give a more stable ride, more effective cornering, just as a sailor braces his legs to take the roll of the ship. And in the Rambler, coil springs are on all 4 wheels for a real deep coil ride. This is only possible when you use our more expensive torque tube drive. You get more when you get Rambler, which brings us up to our final building block, value. What you get for your money. Now, value in a car is made up of 3 separate things, and you'll be better off in presenting it this way instead of concentrating only on the first. Price. What you must pay for the car to get it. Now, it's true Rambler, with its different engines, various models, and 3 series, does give a big price spread to accommodate any buyer. But of equal importance is operating cost. And you've got an economy and low service expense story that puts your value story way above others in this area. And as for your final element of value, trade-in allowance. Well, you just have to show your prospects the book to prove that Rambler is a better dollars and cents buy. To help you get this whole building block story across, you'll be provided with the most convincing selling tools you've ever had. Not only your regular data book, color book, and spec cards, but 2 new devices to help you get your story across. The first is your X-ray model Rambler, a plastic device that shows the difference between our single unit construction and ordinary separate body and frame methods. To help you sell accessories, there's your new accessory merchandiser, a chart that you use right in the closing room. The prospect looks at the accessory groupings arranged by page, such as this one on power options. And you can really whet the appetite even for expensive items, because while the prospect is looking at the description, you're quoting price on a monthly basis from figures on a back page which faces you. These are filled in by you and are based on various payment periods. No accessory seems expensive when presented this way. And to get this prospect in to talk to you, you'll find powerful advertising support in magazines, on the Disneyland TV show, and in a host of your own local media. But speaking of advertising, remember the popular ad last year of the snappy red and black cross-country barreling up a steep mountainside drive? According to a survey, readers remembered this ad and remembered the specific Rambler points made in the ad, such as compactness, economy, performance, and price. The ad apparently made readers feel that they'd like to have the fun of flashing up a mountain drive in a new Rambler, even though most of them had never talked to a salesman or seen the Rambler close up. And that brings to mind the old expression, if Mohammed won't come to the mountain must come to Mohammed. Now, in our case, as Rambler salesmen, the mountain is our own dealership, the place where we usually can get buyers to look carefully at our cars. And Mohammed, of course, is the prospect or buyer himself, the fellow we must get into our car if we're going to sell it. So, to modernize our expression to fit our modern car, if the prospect won't come to the dealership to see the Rambler, take the dealership to the prospect. Now, what that means in ordinary, everyday sales language is this. The people who come into the showroom to see our new Rambler are only a small fraction of the prospects who are actually, subconsciously, in the mood to buy a Rambler. The others who don't come in don't consciously know that they're prospects, even though they've been impressed by ads, by seeing the actual cars on the highway, and by many other impressions. They don't actually know that they're walking around with our building block desires. They don't know until someone reminds them. So what's the conclusion? If they won't come to you, go to them with the car itself and find out which needs are their needs. Once you've found that out, get them into that car and demonstrate until they realize that your Rambler is the only car that will fill their building block needs. We all know that the most successful salesmen are the ones who take the mountain to Mohammed, who go out and find prospects instead of waiting for the prospects to come in and announce themselves. The reason, of course, is that some men expect the world to beat a path to their dealerships. While they're back at their dealerships wondering about the lack of buyers, our kind of salesman is out taking advantage of the situation by getting first crack at prospects that could have belonged to the others. Furthermore, when he's on the sales floor, he doesn't recognize the meaning of the word shopper or be-back. He knows that no matter how he looks, anyone who does come into a dealership is at least thinking about a new car, some new car, and will eventually buy, most likely from the salesman who takes an interest in him and gives him a demonstration. Let's face it, in the automobile business, there's a tendency for us to take it easy and let our products sell themselves, because products like our Rambler are pretty exciting. But the salesman like yourself, who not only knows he has a good product, but knows all about the features that make it good, will want to put all this knowledge to work for one good reason: money. He'll want to make more so he can spend more. He'll want to build his sales so he can build his future. And he knows he can, because he's got the product and the building blocks to do the right job. The difference means dollars to you. The story of the biggest of the big V8s, the Nash Ambassador, the car whose very differences will mean money to you. Want proof? Look at the rest of the industry, all involved in history's biggest rat race, claim and counterclaim. And yet they're all so busy copying each other's claims that they've forgotten what John Q. Prospect really wants. But there's one car, the Nash V8, that gives him what he wants and needs. That is the big difference. A difference you can tell to sell. The story of the world's finest travel car. The long, low, lean, and luxurious Nash 457. Look at it. More power. A brand new engine. New, smoother hydromatic. New 5-foot height. 4 headlights. More inside room than even the biggest cars. And all this at a price below last year's. So let's consider this car that's really different from the standpoint of good looks. A design that packs more honest-to-goodness functional news in the front end than other cars can pack in from bumper to bumper. Highlighting this brand new treatment is a brand new grille, a chrome-plated oval beauty, using a modern rectangular mesh design to set off the gold V and Nash medallion. But the really big front-end news is 4 headlights, adding up to the biggest styling and safety news of the year. Sure, your prospect can see that it's stylish, but you'll have to explain and demonstrate the safety advantages. You see, 4 scientifically designed and directed beams give the driver 50% more lighting power, 150 watts in all, aimed near, far, left, and right for the best highway visibility yet. Then, when another car approaches, the lower lights go out, leaving the upper ones to highlight the closer areas with 25% more light than before, and no glare for the approaching driver. Remember, these headlights are something you can sell, and sell hard. Another safety innovation by the car that's always had the greatest safety story of them all. Also point out the new parking and turning lights to round out this exciting new front-end styling story. Is this a difference you can sell? You bet. Now, let's look at the big, beautiful Nash from another angle, which shows its long, low silhouette. Long, over 18 feet with the Continental tire mount, and low, 2 full inches lower than last year, 5 feet from road to roof. A good-sized man can rest his elbows right on the roof. When you get closer, show your prospect the new enlarged front fender cutouts. Not only a new style accent, but giving more maneuverability with a shorter turning diameter. And notice how the parking turning lights help level out the fender lines. Speaking of lines, notice how the lightning streak moldings on this custom model add to the in-motion look, and the entire panel can be painted a contrasting color. Speaking of color, this year you have 32 different color choices, 15 solids, 11 of which are entirely new, 4 metallics, and 12 two-tone and 5 three-tone choices, most of which are in the new synthetic rosin-based super enamels that outshine and outlast anything yet developed. Now, let's look at the rear, and the new 14-inch wheels with their bigger, safer tires. And for a few extra dollars, the length of the Nash can be accentuated with the Continental tire mount. While you're in this position, notice the view through the rear, through the widest wraparound rear window and Cenoramic windshield on the road. Truly a picture window on wheels. Besides styling, you've got another big story: performance. And the world's newest V8 engine with 255 horsepower, 345 foot-pounds of torque, 4-barrel carburation, and dual exhausts. This American Motors designed and built engine is designed for economical operation. For transmissions, you can offer a choice of 3. First, there's brand new Flashaway Hydromatic, the smoothest, most advanced automatic yet developed. A new higher capacity standard synchro mesh, and for maximum economy, gas-saving overdrive. And remember, with any transmission choice, this modern design engine offers better performance combined with outstanding economy. Now let's consider another big benefit offered by the Big Nash: comfort. The comfort that comes from the widest seats, front and rear, in the industry. And although the new Nash is lower, there's still plenty of headroom. Yes, in the Nash there's room to spare and comfort to spare, because Nash passengers ride on seats of rubber-coated coil springs covered with soft air foam. And for added comfort that no one else can offer, airliner reclining seats. Seats that allow you to lean back and relax, or even become a hotel on wheels, converting into twin travel beds. This exclusive, incidentally, is a feature that over 75% of all those who drive would like to own. Only salesmen of American Motors cars, however, can offer it. And look at this: rich new fabrics, modern vinyl bolsters, optional trims in luxurious genuine leather. And remember, all these interiors are color keyed to blend with the exterior colors. This is a fashion plus that will appeal to Mrs. Prospect. A fashion plus that should be a part of your presentation. Now let's look at another inside view. Here is a dash that really makes sense. Everything where it can be seen and reached. The dash and sun visors are padded to protect the driver. The sliding glove drawer is in easy reach. and there are 2 convenient ashtrays. And like everything in the new Nash, the entire unit is painted to harmonize with the basic interior trim colors. Another big difference you notice when you ride in a Nash is the ride itself. While others may offer coil springs, only Nash has long, high-mounted, direct-acting coil springs such as this one. And remember, Nash has coil springs on all 4 wheels. Combined with the new, bigger, safer tires, this Nash irons out the bumps before they get a chance to be felt by the passengers. But you've got to give your prospect a ride for him to realize this really big difference. He'll also notice a big difference in handling, too. That's always been true, of course, but this year the difference is bigger than ever. With the new steering ratio of 18-to-1, steering is easy, even for the ladies. And with power steering, handling the Nash is a breeze. It glides in and out of traffic effortlessly. There's a more sure-footed feeling, too, because front tread has been increased to 59 1/16 inches. The big tires grab hold of the road and keep it. Even on the bumpiest roads, the ride is firm, the handling solid. And here's more handling and maneuverability news. A shorter turning diameter than any other big car can offer, only 42 feet. That's 2 feet, 4 inches less than last year. This is made possible by the new enlarged cutout front fenders. Coupled with the improved steering, this new Nash is the easiest of the big cars to slide in and out of tight parking spaces and crowded parking lots. By now, you know our safety story. Not a story of hung-on advertising gadgets, but a basic concept that starts right on the assembly line. Single unit construction that offers protection ahead, behind, above, below, and on both sides. The frame's the body, and the body's the frame. One single, all-welded, boltless unit of box section steel girders. But remember, if you want to sell this safety story, do it now, because competition is beginning to realize the superiority of our system of construction and is taking steps to incorporate it in their cars soon. Other advantages of this construction which you can sell are dependability and ruggedness. The tightness of 9,000 rigid electric welds that keep a body free from squeaks and rattles throughout its life. An important safety factor, sure, but also important when it comes time to trade, for a Nash will be as solid as the day it was first owned. And here's another Nash pioneered feature designed to boost your sales. All-season air conditioning. Here is a system that takes up no trunk space. It warms the owner in the winter, cools him in the summer, and filters the air all year round, and at a price way below other systems without a heater. This is a modestly priced air conditioner, one you can sell. You'll also find it easy to sell the new Nash Radio. It's transistor powered, which means that 3 major sources of trouble, the transformer, the rectifier, and the vibrator, have been eliminated. And this radio offers the nearest approach to genuine high fidelity with twin dual-acoustic speakers, acoustically matched and positioned so all passengers hear equally well. Besides these options mentioned, there's power. Power brakes are standard on custom models, and you can offer power windows, power steering, and power brakes for just a few pennies a day on all models. And that's how you will sell these options, by selling on a so much per day or per week basis. Well, there it is, the world's newest and finest travel car, the long, low 1957 Nash Ambassador. The car your prospect will be in love with if you've told him all about it and then showed him all about it in a demonstration ride. But which model will be his model? This ultra-modern custom country club hardtop? Or this big, roomy custom four-door? Still the most popular body style of them all. Perhaps your prospect will prefer this racy country club hardtop in the lower-priced Super Series. Or for the lowest price of all in the world's finest travel car, maybe your prospect will want the Super 4-door. Remember, they're all V8s, all 255 horsepower dual exhaust bombshells. And these roomier and smoother riding big cars are priced lower than others in their class, lower than last year's models. And they're all cars with big differences. New lightning streak styling, new more versatile performance, new unbeatable comfort. It's a car that handles easier, offers more safety and more dependability, as well as the features and options that your prospects want and need. And it's the big value of the big V8s. Yes, the difference means dollars to you. Study your new Nash, learn it, and learn to brag about it, because it's worth bragging about. Then when you get your prospect into your Nash for his ride, watch him recognize the big difference and turn into a buyer for you.
I like the car. I'd like to buy it. But what about American Motors? I've heard a lot of talk lately. You're pretty small stacked up against the big three.
That's right, Mr. Blake. But you don't have to be big to be good. And for my money, we're the best. Because we're not the biggest, we can change with the times faster to give you more for your money. Why, we've got engineering features in our cars that won't be used in any other make for years. After all, if we didn't build a better car than any one of the big three, well, we just couldn't compete with them. But we're building cars that are different. Cars that give you features that are exclusive with us. That's what we've done in the past, and that's what we're going to do in the future. Did you know that we introduced the first spare tire and wheel and the first luggage trunk in the rear? And today we're leading the way with single unit body construction, which is far safer and more rattle-free. This is being copied now and will be copied more and more by the big three as soon as they can change over. We introduced the first full cushion clutch and the first rubber engine mounts. Today we have the newest and most efficiently engineered V8 engine on the market. We brought out the first automatic spark advance and the first fresh air heating system, the famous Weather Eye, and the first all-season air conditioning system, which combines heating and cooling in one unit and is still the lowest priced and most efficient unit on the market. We were also the first in the industry to use extruded aluminum door frames, now appearing on other cars. And these are just a few of American Motors' many firsts adopted by the industry.
That's quite a record. Must take a lot of research. You know, I've read about those research projects the big companies have. Do you have anything like that?
You bet your life we do. American Motors is the kind of a company that's always looking for ways to give you a better, safer car. To do that takes a lot of research, planning, and engineering. Let's take the Rambler, the car you want. What did American Motors do to make sure you'll be happy with it? Well, it was given all sorts of tests on American Motors' own proving grounds. These tests help to make sure that the Rambler is a car that'll stand up under all kinds of use. But before it could be tested, production engineering had to figure out how to build it efficiently on American Motors' vast assembly lines. Thousands of parts had to be designed so they would fit perfectly. Before that, there was product development. At this stage, the work of the designers is translated through mock-ups and models to blueprints and specifications for production. Even before any of this could be done, someone had to get the idea for the Rambler, a new and completely different kind of car. A compact, economical car with small car handling ease, but with big car room and comfort. At American Motors, there is a special group of men
who work on the plans and designs for the cars of the future. I know for a fact that right now, there are men working on the plans for American Motors cars that will be built 5 and even more years from now. Does that answer part of your question about the future of American Motors, Mr. Blake?
Yes, I think so. Sure seems like any company that's planning that far ahead must figure on being around for a while.
You bet we will, Mr. Blake. American Motors is in league with the future. You know, when someone talks about the future, you usually think of electronics or nuclear energy. Well, American Motors is working in the atomic age. A cathode ray oscillograph is used by research engineers to check the dynamometer performance of the fuel system on the new Rambler Rebel V8 engine. And we sponsor research at leading universities in safety and even in preserving foods by atomic irradiation.
Foods?
Yes. This is for the Kelvinator division of American Motors. Our Special Products division makes aircraft parts, special vehicles, gun turrets, and maintenance tools for the armed forces. We've developed a brand new engine, a V4 engine that's air-cooled and can be built as a 2, 4, 6, or 8-cylinder engine. It may be used to power an airborne Jeep-type vehicle, the Mighty Mite, and the cars of the future. And while I'm talking about engines, American Motors V8 plant in Kenosha, Wisconsin, is the newest and one of the most efficient engine-building plants in the world. You asked about research, Mr. Blake? We've got it. And besides all the research that goes on at American Motors, we can draw on the vast pool of knowledge of many universities and research centers, and all the companies that produce anything which goes into the building of our cars. Steel, glass, aluminum, rubber, plastics, and many others.
Yes, but don't the big manufacturers use that knowledge too?
Yes, they do, Mr. Blake, but they're held back by the problems and expense of changing their huge production plants. American Motors is a more flexible company and is free to make changes much sooner, to take advantage of all this research. Because we put the latest developments into today's cars, we can always offer cars that are really different, compact, economical cars that have new and desirable features, cars that are out in front of all the others. Then, as you know, American Motors offers a full line, the only complete family of automobiles. We have a fine car for everyone who owns or wants to own an automobile.
From the way you talk, I'm beginning to think you must be a partner here.
No, I'm not. But that's something you should know about. The dealer. He's an important part of American Motors' future. What kind of a man is he? Well, every dealer has to measure up to the high standards of American Motors. After all, it wouldn't be right to put a dealership in the hands of just anyone. So strict dealer standards are maintained to protect both you and American Motors. To become a dealer, a man's character and capabilities have to be above criticism. He must be a career dealer, a man who will sell American Motors cars full-time as a career. And he must provide the best of facilities and service for his customers.
It sounds to me like the dealer has to be somebody pretty special.
That's right, Mr. Blake. And there are more than 2,000 American Motors dealers. But let's take a look at it from the dealer's point of view, Mr. Blake. Once he has met all of American Motors' requirements, he stands to gain a great deal. He has a chance to serve every part of the car buyer's market with American Motors' unique selection of automobiles, from one of the smallest to among the largest. And on the personal side, his chance is my chance, too. I have the chance to sell cars that I'm convinced are the best buy anyone can make. My customers find out that what I tell them about American Motors cars is true. There are a lot of people around here who just wouldn't have anything but an American Motors car. When I deliver a car to a new owner, I know that he's going to say to me later, "That car is everything you said it'd be." I know that when a customer comes in here for service or parts, he's going to get the best. We use genuine AMC parts from the nearby American Motors warehouse. Yes, sir, Mr. Blake. With cars like these, cars that represent the future now, well, the future looks mighty good to me. That should answer your question about the future of American motors.
It sure does. The way you feel about the cars, the dealer, and American motors has a way of rubbing off.
Good. You know, the final proof is that I'm here and the dealer's here because we believe our chances for success are best with American motors. We believe that American Motors is in league with the future.
Today, the Metropolitan is regarded as the ideal personal car by an ever-increasing number of American car buyers. To appreciate what an accomplishment this public acceptance represents, we need only go back to the prototype of today's Metropolitan, which made its first public appearance early in 1950. As you'll recall, those were the days when the general trend was to bigger, heavier, and more powerful cars. And it took a lot of honest conviction and more than an average new idea to go against such a trend. The success the Metropolitan has achieved proves the soundness behind the Metropolitan's development and the solid reasons for its growing popularity. An increasingly large number of American car buyers are turning away from the automotive heavyweights to the personal type of car, which the Metropolitan represents. But let's make one thing perfectly clear. What these car buyers are turning away from is the excess bulk and useless weight that is not needed for personal transportation. Bulk that is cumbersome to handle in spite of power assists. Bulk that involves high initial cost and high maintenance cost. Buyers are not turning away from traditional American concepts of comfort and responsiveness in a car. They definitely want these benefits. And that's why the Metropolitan has so much appeal for American car buyers. It provides European economy with American power, European compactness with American comfort and style. Devin Francis, reporting on the Metropolitan in Popular Science magazine, referred to it as the watch charm Rolls-Royce, luxury in miniature. We like to think of it as the world's smartest smaller car. It's the ideal personal car for the man who wants economical, convenient, and pleasant transportation. Personal transportation for two people plus. It's the ideal personal car for the active homemaker. It's the car for the young in heart who enjoy driving for its sheer fun and excitement. Many of these owners belong to a unique and fast-growing nationwide organization, the Metropolitan Club. Every Metropolitan owner, new and used, is entitled to club membership simply by submitting his application. And although the backgrounds and occupations of members may vary widely, they share the same concept of more intelligent motoring, which is the official platform of the club. 1, the conservation of vital natural resources, such as iron, oil, and rubber. 2, the reduction of personal motoring costs, both capital and operating, thus making additional funds available to car owners to be used for whatever purpose they may desire, including savings. 3, the encouragement of the use of the proper car for the need at hand. 4, the dissemination of the basic philosophy that waste in any form is unwise and unintelligent. 5, the belief that some American cars today almost exceed the bounds of good taste in wasteful pretentiousness. 6, the reduction in the present inexcusable number of highway fatalities. 7, the conviction that high speed is one of the greatest enemies of motoring safety and economy. Metropolitan Club members receive a membership card, a handsome embossed insignia for their cars, a handy directory of Metropolitan dealers throughout the United States, and the Met Club letter, published quarterly. Now let's look at some of the many features that make the Metropolitan the world's smartest smaller car to own. It has the kind of smart, modern styling that Americans are used to. Styling that will stay in fashion. To carry out the American concept of styling, the Metropolitan provides a choice of 4 two-tone color combinations in baked enamel at no extra cost. For convenience and safety, the wide one-piece flat laminated safety plate glass windshield gives the driver maximum distortion-free forward visibility. And the entire glass area, which is extra large for a car of the Metropolitan's size, combines maximum all-around visibility in the American tradition, along with great structural strength and safety. And for additional comfort and convenience, new large vent windows provide extremely effective no-draft ventilation with minimum wind noise. The hood slopes to give the driver a completely unobstructed forward view, and a safety latch on the hood prevents accidental opening. Fender lines are high in both front and rear for more exact judgment of the clearance available in tight places. The rugged bumpers are of heavy gauge steel, and they wrap around both front and rear at a level matching that of American cars. No worry about larger cars riding over the bumper. Bumper guards are standard equipment. Rubber inserts between the bumper and guards prevent rust and rattles. More usable trunk space is made available by mounting the spare tire on a Continental carrier, which adds a touch of sports car smartness. This carrier is an extremely solid mount that's completely rattle-proof. New 560 by 13 low-pressure tubeless tires are provided to give an improved appearance, capacity for heavier loads, and longer wear. The Metropolitan's unique tire jack system allows the car to be lifted from the side. A special jack fitting is located below the door on each side. This makes it possible to lift both wheels on one side at the same time. The new full-opening exterior trunk lid provides access to the trunk from outside the car. This is in addition to the inside access, which has been retained, making it possible to carry longer objects, like golf clubs. The push-button type lock makes it extremely easy to open and close the seat-back trunk opening, and it can be key-locked for added protection. Doors are large and square-cut, making it easy to get in or out, and they're equipped with stops and checks, just as on the much higher-priced big cars. Both doors have key locks, and both can be locked without using the key if so desired. Headroom and legroom are a pleasant surprise for every Metropolitan driver. They compare favorably with many of America's most expensive models. Inside the car, the luxurious styling carries out the theme of functional smartness, so evident on the outside. The richly tailored interior trim is a combination of new bison grain white vinyl and new gray-black diamond pattern fabric. The front seat features improved coil spring construction with a foam rubber cushion as standard equipment. Seat adjustment travel has been increased by 50%. It's a bench-type seat, a big car feature that utilizes the full width of the car for seating, unlike the bucket-type seats, which waste seating space. The instrument panel is both attractive and functional, with a push-button locking glove compartment of generous proportions. Instruments are grouped in one simple, easy-to-read black dial cluster directly in front of the driver. The column-mounted gear shift lever leaves the floor area free and is also more in line with what American drivers expect in a car. For positive bad weather visibility, the windshield wipers are electrically operated. This means no slowing down or stopping of the wiping action, even under the heaviest engine loads. And parallel operation of blades eliminates the middle blind spot found on all cars equipped with conventional action windshield wipers. The fresh air intake is located at cowl level, above the level of the exhaust fumes from the car ahead. American Motors' famed Weather Eye heating, ventilating, and defrosting system is available on Metropolitan. Thermostatically controlled, it's superior to rear-engine car heaters in a number of ways. In Metropolitan, the heat is right in front, where it does the most good. The faster you drive, the more heat you get. In the rear-engine car heater, heat is lost because it has to travel from the rear of the car to the front. And the colder the weather and the faster the speed of the car, the greater the loss of heat. In some rear-engine cars, Either there are no auxiliary fans or they are optional equipment. The engine cooling fan is the only means for circulating air for heating or defrosting. In Metropolitan, a blower is standard, and with both heater doors closed, the outside air rushing into the heater is deflected through the defrosters, which means that at 30 miles an hour or more, the blower is not even needed. The two heater doors located under the dash can be opened to direct heat toward the driver, the passenger, or both. The Metropolitan has as standard equipment other features, such as dual sun visors, big car dual horns, cigarette lighter, ashtray, and map light. Features that some smaller cars provide at extra cost or not at all. Yes, the Metropolitan has many deluxe features, touches of luxury and smartness that make it the glamour car of the smaller car group. But it's a practical car, too. It's built for the American driver, durable, sturdy, dependable. It's basically a simple vehicle with very few things to go wrong, designed for long, trouble-free performance. The Metropolitan, like all American Motors-built cars, uses airplane-type single-unit construction, which combines body and frame in one all-welded structure. Single-unit construction is far stronger and safer than the less modern frame with bolted-on body. It eliminates body bolt squeaks and rattles, and it helps provide better performance with economy through lighter weight. The Metropolitan, like all other American Motors cars, is protected from rust by the deep dip process that has been a Metropolitan feature since 1954. Now let's look at some of the mechanical features that make the Metropolitan such a pleasant surprise for those who drive it for the first time and such a source of permanent satisfaction to all of its owners. The Metropolitan's Powerplant is the highly developed BMC Austin A55. It's an overhead valve type engine, a type generally associated with high-performance power plants. With 55 horsepower and 82 foot-pounds of torque, it provides plenty of get up and go. And it's a highly efficient engine, which means top economy to go along with the top performance. The high 8.3 to 1 compression ratio squeezes the last bit of power out of every drop of fuel. And of course, we're talking about lower cost, regular gasoline. Owners report that they are getting as much as 40 miles per gallon, a phenomenal fuel economy record, considering that it involves Metropolitan owners rather than professional test drivers. One owner said this: "The savings on gas have paid for my cars, and the trade-in value is remarkable. The engine has a full flow oil filter and an oil bath air cleaner as standard equipment. Again, these are deluxe engine features that some cars costing a great deal more than Metropolitan provide only at extra cost. Metropolitan's synchromesh transmission is the 3-speed type, just like those on the most expensive cars. Another indication of the Metropolitan's performance is that it does not require a 4-shift transmission, such as used by some of the lower-powered imports. Brakes represent another of the Metropolitan's strong points. The front brakes, where a car needs most of its braking power, have 2 cylinders per wheel. This means that the lining contacts the brake drums evenly, all around, giving fast, smooth stops with no grabbing, and longer lining life through more even wear. Quick steering response, only 2 3/4 turns from lock to lock, plus the added leverage of Metropolitan's larger steering wheel are other features that make driving the Metropolitan such a pleasing experience. The famous American Motors deep coil ride is in Metropolitan too. In front, extra long direct-acting coil springs let the wheels flow over bumps. The suspension components are rubber-mounted to the body structure to soak up road shock and noise. In the rear, longitudinal leaf springs cushion the ride and help give Metropolitan a balanced, sure-footed feel. Another function these leaf springs perform is in connection with the Hotchkiss drive arrangement, which cushions the driving and braking forces through the rear leaf springs, thus adding to the smoothness of the ride. Is it any wonder that the Metropolitan ride matches that of far more expensive cars? The ride is, after all, one of the features that make Metropolitan the ideal personal car. Let's listen in on a Metropolitan salesman as he covers just a few of the features.
Actually, you're in for a pleasant surprise at the quality and big car feel of the Metropolitan. Notice how easy it is to get in through the big, wide doors. And that steering wheel feels and seems just right because it is a full-size steering wheel. With this big, wide windshield, you can really see what's going on in the front. And the electric parallel windshield wipers keep it that way, no matter how bad the weather is. And notice the large rear windows and the big side windows, which give you extra safe all-round vision. With 2 people in the Metropolitan, you have 25 inches of seat space per person, which is more than you have in any big car when there are 3 people in a seat. Let's take a ride now, and you can see for yourself.
Remember to tell and show your prospects all the reasons why the Metropolitan is the world's smartest smaller car. Luxury in miniature.